All right. How's everybody doing? Yeah, no popcorn today. Just tea. All right, guys. So I know this is apologies for fixing my hair, but I know I'm doing sort of a last minute live stream. I just sort of decided to do this yesterday. And basically, what's going on is I just want to hang out with you guys. I want to see how everybody's doing during, the whole coronavirus situation. Uh, and at the same time, I've got a few kind of updates and, some things coming up that I want to tell you guys about, a bunch of different things. And, I like doing the live streams because I get to talk with you guys directly and hang out and everything. So we got a little more than 100 people watching right now, so I'll just give it a couple of minutes and make a little small talk here while we get into this, and then I want to take some questions from you guys, and then just like I said, talk about some things coming up on the channel, some cool things that I think people will be really dig, and some things I'm excited about, and that kind of thing. So I've got a few notes here already, some things that I want to mention, but obviously I want to do sort of a Q&A session with you guys. If there's any specific things that people want to know about. The last time I did one of these live streams, it was many months ago. I mean, it was last year. So the channel has grown a lot since then. And, there's some kind of new things I'm doing. I started a new channel, a second channel, not new, a second channel recently. And, hey, Davidas. You can be my wingman anytime. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was saying I started a second channel recently, not a new channel, because I don't want to say that, the Guitar Max channel is not my main thing, because it still is, absolutely. But I started an additional channel recently, so I can talk a little bit about that. Not too much, I know, I don't want to take up too much time talking about a different channel. But anyway, um, but yeah, so let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing I want to know from you guys is just how is everybody doing? I'm very fortunate. The situation that I'm in, I basically already work from home, right? I mean, I'm doing my YouTube stuff and music things. Um, so as far as my day-to-day activities that are like work related, not much of that has changed. A lot of other things have changed for me personally, but I want to know, how are you guys doing in this situation? I mean, Carl wants to know about the EVH 5150. Where, the guitar or the amp, Carl? Davidas. Florida's under lockdown. Yeah, I mean, I live in Los Angeles, for anybody who doesn't know, and it's just like that here too. Um, Now you're not supposed to go out without or you're not supposed to go out to like any sort of business or anything without wearing a mask. You can walk outside like if you're by yourself. Um, but I'll tell you what, one of the big things I'm concerned about, like I said, I'm very lucky in that I'm already doing my YouTube stuff and things like that. So I'm not relying on playing shows for my income. But obviously, I know a ton of musicians in LA where that is their either playing local live shows, or sound guys, or people who are touring. Everybody who's in that situation is, their entire income, their entire business is wiped out right now. And maybe like a couple of months from now, things will start to pick up again. But right now, it's really pretty bad. And a lot of people in those businesses going 1 or 2 months without any income is like financially catastrophic for those people. So let's see. I'm just looking at your comments here. So guys, I will get to gear related questions just a little bit after this. Right now, I just want to see how everybody's doing with the coronavirus thing. Yeah, somebody's mentioning the restaurants. A lot of the yeah, a lot of the people, waiters and waitresses and so forth, they're all out of work right now. Around here, you can still order takeout. You can still go to a restaurant and take food to go. So at least some of the cooks and so forth are still working. Somebody was mentioning in Arizona things are pretty chill. I know Arizona has a very what's a good way to say it, independent attitude towards a lot of things. So that's interesting to hear that things are not. I mean, obviously the population of Arizona is not as large as like California or New York or something like that. Simon, laid off, but everybody in your family is healthy. Well, I'm glad to hear about your family. I'm sorry to hear about your business situation. Yeah, again, guys. Oh, Matt, you've been making some boxes for people. Yeah, again, guys, like guitar questions and stuff. If you could just hold those for a few minutes. Dylan, laid off in Texas. Man, I'm sorry. Um, Obviously, there's this whole stimulus situation, which is, I guess, that's supposed to be happening right now. Um, I know it's only a one-time thing, uh, so hopefully that'll help somewhat. I think though, one thing like I'm sure after this is all over, or at least when it starts to calm down, I'm sure there's going to be a big bounce back. So maybe at least for a while, business will be even better than it was before. Wally, you were working from home, and then they close the business? You were working from home for a while, and then they just closed everything after that. Dylan, yeah, turning a negative into a positive. I'll talk a little bit about my flight training coming up, but I was actually just talking yesterday to one of my flight instructors, and of course that business is really dead because of all the aviation stuff. Uh, nobody's taking air travel right now. But he was talking about how he's using the time. He's studying up for uh, more certifications he can get and things like that. So definitely, when you're stuck inside, I mean, the more time you can spend on just really doing anything that's productive, I think is really, really helpful. Um, I've got this classical guitar here, this nylon string guitar, which I really like. I'll talk a little bit about it. And that's one of the things I've been working on, is I've been trying to work on my finger style playing a little bit, which, full disclosure, I'm really bad at it. So it's something I really do need to work on. But I'm trying to use my time to work on things like that. Although it's just tough because it's hard to find anything to kind of break up the day. So I get up every morning and I feel like, it's another day of whatever I did yesterday. That's that's kind of tough sometimes. So, but don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. Uh, Incensio, that's an interesting question. They're asking, do you think there's going to be a sort of a big surge in creative, like you're saying, an explosion of art, right? Creativity and things like that. Um, I actually, yes, I do. I think tough times can be very creatively inspiring to musicians and artists and so forth. Um, there's a lot of inspiration that comes from struggle. So I think, yeah, I think that will happen. There's a couple projects recording things I'm working on. So, okay. Keith, you've been working a little more on theory and writing. That's great. That's perfect. That's stuff you can do at home on your own. Tony, orchestral musician. Yeah, I know. Nobody's gonna be going to concert halls or anything right now. Uh, Mark wants to know, did I study guitar theory? Yes, although uh, not in an academic sense. I don't have a music degree or anything like that. Uh, and I'm drinking English breakfast tea. Here's a popular question. Two people asked it at the same time. How many guitars do you have? I don't actually know because the number is always changing, and I have some that are like in the closet or in storage and that kind of stuff. It's around 40, maybe something like that, maybe 45. Although I let go of a few recently. I sold 3 guitars recently. Oh, Angus, that's a fun question. Angus wants to know, how am I so mellow? Do I ever get angry? I do. Yeah, I get frustrated. I get angry sometimes, that kind of thing. I find I was a pretty relaxed person to begin with, and I find as I get older, I get more relaxed. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm pretty. I just try to remind. I have a lot of things in my life that I'm very happy about, and I try to remind myself about those things, and that keeps me from really getting frustrated at any one particular thing too much. Just I try to, keep a healthy perspective on things, that kind of thing. Oh, that's a fun question, Kevin. If an F-16 was a guitar, what guitar would it be? Uh, well, I'll give you the obvious, like the easy answer. Here's the easy answer. If an F-16 was a guitar, it would be this guitar. With an aircraft aluminum top. Right? Yeah, right. So this is the Dean MAB rocket, 29 frets. It has an aluminum top. These bolts in here. Floyd Rose. They don't make these anymore. This is sort of a reissue. I mean, this one's made by Dean, but this is based on the Ritz rocket guitars that Michelangelo Badio uh, played like in the late '80s, early '90s and stuff. And I think there were only like maybe 2 or 3 of those original guitars made. And then they did a reissue run of these. Dean did a few years ago. But yeah, I think this is about as F-16 of a guitar as you can get. All right. Yeah, 29 frets on that guitar. Hmm. Somebody was asking about my arm, if it's healed up. Yes. My arm is, I don't know, can you see You probably can't see it, but I've got a little surgical scar there. The arm is 100% healed. It's great. I fortunately, I took some time off from the gym, obviously, after I injured it, and I had the cast on for a while. I tore my bicep tendon in my left arm. It tore it completely off the bone. Had to have surgery on it, put it back together. The surgeon did an awesome job, and I had to take a bunch of time off from the gym, and had to wear a hard cast for a while, and then a brace and all this stuff. Couldn't play guitar for a couple, like 2-3 months. But that was last year. It is 100% healed since then, so I'm really happy about that. So a few people are asking about instructional things, guitar classes, and that kind of thing. So here's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. This is a bit of news and sort of an update on some stuff I previously did. I have shot a new instructional program, and I'm calling it Guitar 1988, and it is basically a 1980s style guitar instructional program. So it's like how to play licks and riffs and just overall concepts in an 80s style. It's not out yet. It's not released yet. I'll do a fancy edited video when I release it. But the big change here, I've done instructional stuff in the past. The big change here is that this is an online course as opposed to like a video that you download. And I'm also in the process of moving over my existing instructional videos from a download format to an online course format. So this is basically, it's on this platform called Teachable, and you go and you make an account and you sign in, and you take a course on there the way you would take a course at like an online college or something like that. So it's broken down into different chapters, and all the videos are hosted on there, and the tab is hosted on there, backing tracks. It's all through this online site. And you can log in on a computer, on a phone, or whatever. In the past, when I had the downloads, there were a lot of people who were having trouble because they were using their phone for this stuff, and they would have to download everything onto their phone, and then they couldn't find where the phone saved the videos, or the phone would keep the video in one place and the tab in a different place, and there were a lot of people having trouble with it. So because of that, I'm shifting everything over to the new this new like online course format. So you never actually have to download anything. You have the option of downloading stuff, like especially the backing tracks. I think it's really good to download those. Then you can use them whenever, or play them through your phone through an amp that has Bluetooth or something like that. But you don't actually have to download anything as long as you can sign into this thing. So that's a new thing coming up. And in particular, I've got the new instructional program that's going to be coming up. Hopefully I'll have it done in a few more weeks. The editing is very tedious. And when I get that new program out there, you'll hear me talk about it. I'm going to be promoting it a lot and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's something that's coming up that I'm excited about. I really tried to make the new program, I really tried to make it entertaining as well as educational. It's a good combination. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some other new things that I have coming up. You guys, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably know Deacon Lacrosse, great guitar player, buddy of mine. I've shot another video with him where we are comparing a couple of different Harley Benton guitars. And these are like the Fusion series guitars, so they're really shred friendly. They've got the baked maple necks, right? We've got two different guitars, and we kind of do a demo of both of them at the same time, and we talk about the differences and stuff. And he is such a great guitar player. Anytime you get to watch him or listen to him play is really a treat. So that's another video that it's already shot. I'm just in the process of editing it. So that's going to be coming up soon. Really cool Harley Benton stuff. Harley Benton also has some new guitars that they're just bringing out recently, like the Aquafish signature, which is very cool, and some of their new Amarok. I forget the name off the top of my head, but those are really cool too. Little bit more expensive than some of their previous stuff. Scott from Scotty's Animals. Scott saying hi. How you doing, man? I hope you're doing great too. Thank you. Amarok, thank you. Okay, that's the new stuff. Also, another thing I want to talk about real quick. It's been a while since I've released solo material. I did a track in October of last year, a single track, Death on the Iron Mountain, did a music video for it. I've been working on here and there, working on new solo material, and it's shred instrumental stuff. I mean, if you've heard any of my previous material, it's in that style. But I think I'm gonna be releasing an album this year. To be perfectly honest, my YouTube stuff, the videos, that has been more of a priority for me. I mean, I have released actually many solo albums in the past, but it's been a few years since I've released a new album. So I'm going to do a new album. It's going to probably come out later this year. Also, I'm doing a collaboration album with another guitar player. And this is going to be probably like an EP. He and I are working on it now. And this is going to be a just full-blown neoclassical guitar album. And it's really, really fun. So if you guys like Yngwie, Tony McAlpine, Jason Becker, you know, that style, the sort of classic neoclassical albums, then I think you'll really like this stuff. And like I said, he and I are working on it now, and it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun, you know, to do that, you know, these pedal tones and arpeggios and all that classic stuff. So yeah, hopefully those will both be done and released later on this year. So if you guys want some new guitar music to listen to, that'll be coming out. But don't worry, I mean, you know, the videos and the channel is always that's always my top priority. So I'm working on that other stuff in between working on the videos. Okay. So there's one other thing I want to mention, and then we'll get to some. I'll take a bunch of questions and that kind of thing. The other thing I want to mention is I have launched a second channel, an additional channel. Hopefully, a lot of you have already seen it. It's called Heavy Metal Horizons, and it is basically a channel where I can do videos about some of my other passions. But it's still anchored somewhat in music because it's Heavy Metal Horizons. It's cars, airplanes, and heavy metal. So it's videos about cars and airplanes and aviation. I'm working on, you know, I'm in flight school to get a pilot's license, and I want to sort of document that training process. It's a really fun experience for me, and I think it'd be interesting to some other people. But it has all the videos, it has a heavy metal soundtrack, and there's tracks that I record for the videos and stuff. So Heavy Metal Horizons, it's a really cool thing. There's just like 2 videos on the channel right now. But anyway, if you guys haven't already seen that, I encourage you to check it out. Yeah, classic. Somebody's asking. Yeah, classic cars, hot rods, maybe some practical videos on like tools you can use for working on cars and things like that. Heavy Metal Horizons. Okay, so let's talk, guys. I know but a bunch of questions have been going past here. Now let's get to those questions. Hit me with the questions, all right? I'll answer as many as I can. I think we'll go till about, it's about 11:28 right now for me, and so I think we can do like a half an hour here of Q&A. Carson wants to know, what's your opinion on Guitar Hero? Um, Guitar Hero and Rock Band and Rocksmith, maybe even. In general, I think it's a net positive, right? In general, I think it's good because I think anything that gets people more interested in music and more interested in playing an instrument is overall a good thing. Obviously, I think making the jump from playing Guitar Hero to playing an actual guitar is, I don't think there's a lot of skill that transfers in that, but I think in general it's a good thing. Hmm. Glow stick guy wants to know what's my favorite guitar and why. Look, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. It's people ask me that all the time. I It's bad for me to have a favorite guitar because that's going to change very quickly. I mean, I'm constantly checking out new guitars and playing new guitars. So even if I had a favorite one today, tomorrow it might be completely different. I've got some ones that I really like. Maybe I could give you like a top 10 or something like that. Um, I'll show you one that I really like, and that is this one, my Schecter. But I I have a lot of guitars, and so I don't have a lot of space for more guitars. So the ones I have now, the ones I keep, I really just try to only keep the ones that I really really like. And sometimes I get one that is like a cool guitar, but it's not something that personally I'm gonna use very much. So sometimes I give those to my friends or family members who play guitar and stuff like that. Mm. Douglas Farnsworth wants to know, is that a PV rotor that I see on the wall? I used to have a PV rotor. I ended up selling it. I don't have it anymore. Kind of regret selling it, to be honest. It was really, really cool. The guitar, I mean, I've got this guitar here, which is the one of the old Gus G LTD signatures. And then I have a Washburn, really cool, crazy looking heavy metal Washburn, the HM20V. Maybe from a distance that might look like a PV rotor, but I don't own the PV rotor anymore. That was an awesome guitar. Okay. Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. Um, Grevar wants to know, what do you think of amp modeling software like Guitar Rig? I I like it in general. I mean, I think it's really cool. I think it's very useful if you're uh, recording your own demos and things like that. Because if you want to get a particular sound that fits a particular style of music, you can do that very, very easily with the software like Guitar Rig and so forth, or anything that has presets like that. I don't think it's the ultimate solution to recording guitar. I think in an ideal situation, obviously recording through real amps and everything is still better. But especially if you're recording in an apartment where you can't make a lot of noise, I mean, software, it solves a lot of problems. I'll put it that way. Okay. Um, Dylan is suggesting something that a lot of other people have suggested too, and that's just doing a walkthrough of a bunch of my guitars, talking a little bit about the history behind them. I think I might do that. I don't know if I would do that with every guitar that I own, but I think there are particular guitars that do have some history behind them. It'd be kind of fun to talk about that stuff. Mm. Somebody's asking about the Wolf and AIO guitars. They're saying that they own a lot of them. And I also, of course, own a lot of them. Do I have any particular favorite models? Absolutely. The WLP is always a big favorite of mine, especially the Red Burst. This is, whew, I love this. This is one of my favorite guitars that I own for sure. And I also really like the TC1, which is their neck through Telecaster style guitar, is amazing. What else? I mean, the S1. I just got this one like maybe a month ago now. Look at this thing. Look at that. So you guys, you see what's going on the back here? They have it has a maple top and a maple back, and it's a neck through, and it's like an ash body, and then a maple top and back, and then a walnut and maple neck. Really nice neck. The neck has a nice roundness to it. So I really, really like this one too. This is another Wolf guitar. I'll put this back up here. Okay. Somebody's asking about Randall amps and cabs. What do I think of those? I think Randall is a company that obviously they're associated with more like metal and rock players. And I think one thing about, there are a lot of companies, let me step back a little bit. There are a lot of companies that make amplifiers where that company is known for a particular sound. Fender is a great example, or Marshall. Like most of the amps, they kind of fit into a particular category. I think Randall is a little bit different. There are a lot of differences between the different Randall amplifiers. So some of them are really good. Some of them I think are maybe good at one thing, but not very versatile. And then there are some other amplifiers, other Randall amplifiers, like the ones where you can switch out the preamps. They've got like those preamp like cartridges. You can unplug them and plug in a different one. Those are really, really cool. But of course, those are the more expensive ones. Raphael, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Mark wants to know, are mini humbuckers, like in the Firebirds, I think, are they good for metal and rock? With the right amp, you can use any guitar, any pickup for metal and rock. Those are lower output pickups. You're going to need more gain and maybe experiment with the tone a little bit on the amplifier, but sure, I mean there are a lot of amazing recordings that have been done with vintage or low output pickups and things like that, and the mini humbuckers are really not much different than that, I think. Glow Stick Guy wants to know what's my thoughts on the Guns and Guitars channel, because he sent me a Strat with a foot. Yeah. So yeah, Dan Thompson from Guns and Guitars, great guy. He's got a really cool channel. He's doing crazy stuff these days because him and his family, they're like doing living on the road kind of a thing, and this huge like RV that they have, and so he shoots a lot of his videos like outside and things like that, which is really cool. And yeah, he made a like dual humbucker Floyd Rose Super Strat guitar. This was like a couple years ago now, actually. Yeah, I love the guitar. I still have the guitar. It's really, really cool. It's cool because it's extremely unique, especially the switching, the tone controls and things like that. It's something crazy, like 40 different, like 40 different combinations, like tone combinations you can get out of it. Yeah, and I still have the guitar, and it's a lot of fun. It's great. But yeah, Dan from Guns and Guitars, really cool guy. Okay, Super Blonde wants to know, why don't I cover more headless guitars? I will say there is a particular reason, and the reason is I'm a more traditional guitar player in terms of the styles I do. I'm more of like an 80s metal rock shred kind of guy. I feel like the headless guitars these days are marketed much more towards the gent crowd and the progressive crowd. I think there are just a lot of other guitar players who stylistically would fit the headless guitars better in terms of doing reviews about them and that kind of stuff. That's the only reason. I'm not. I like headless guitars in general. I just feel that it's a little bit. I'll be a little bit out of my element when I review that stuff, and I have so many things to review. I try to find the things. I try to move towards the things that I think I am the best able to do a good review for it. Somebody's asking, what do I think of Ibanez guitars? I like Ibanez guitars. I've got a beautiful. Have you guys seen this? I've got this I've got this beautiful S470 with the ball bearing bridge. This thing's in really good shape. I did an unboxing video for this guitar, but I've never done a review on it. And this is great. This is an awesome shred guitar. The one thing I'm going to do with this guitar is I'm going to see if I can lower the middle pickup because I hit it with my pick a lot. But no, this is a killer guitar. And I have another Ibanez. I've got an RG that I've had for years and years and years. And I don't play it too much now because I played it so much. I wore the frets down quite a bit, so it kind of needs new frets. And I've had a handful of Ibanez guitars over the years, and they're great. They're great shred guitars and great, very versatile guitars. Yeah. All right, guys, what else you got for me? Oh, that's a cool reference. Allendale Guitars wants to know, do I still have my LTD? What it was the M100 FM. That was a very old review that I did years ago now. No, I don't have the guitar anymore. But that was a really good guitar, especially for the price. It's a very budget-friendly guitar. If you find one on the used market, you can get them for almost nothing now. The neck was excellent on that guitar. It's a very flat, like a U shape or like a slim D shaped neck. Very, very thin, flat neck. It's the same neck profile that comes on the I'm blanking on the guy's name. This is embarrassing. The Metallica. Kirk Hammett, yeah. It's the same neck profile that comes on the Kirk Hammett guitars. Another guitar that's similar to that one is the LTD M300 guitars. Neck through with active EMGs, and you can find those guitars on the used market for like $300, $350. Screaming deal. All right. Oh, somebody's asking about the. He said this this guy says he lives in Europe and he would like to buy one of the AIO or Wolf guitars. I'm under the impression that really only outside of the US, the Wolf guitars are difficult to get. You can order one from the US and they'll ship it to you, but obviously it's going to be a significant shipping charge. But they absolutely will do that. My understanding is, the Wolf guitars and AIO guitars, those are manufactured in South Korea. All-in-One Guitars in the United States, I believe, is the only official distributor in the United States. And I'm not familiar with distributors in other countries and stuff. So I know that they'll be happy to ship you one from the US, but I don't know how much it's gonna cost to ship it. a few people want to know how long have I been playing guitar. I think I started about like 14, something like that, and I'm 36. So 20 something years, 22 years. But I played other instruments before that. I started played violin to begin with when I was 9 years old, and then a little bit of piano and a little bit of upright bass, and then guitar. So I had some other experience with instruments before guitar. All right, guys. So we'll do about another 15 minutes here. Oh, Jurassic Jeeper 199 wants to know, how's the Gus G guitars? The Gus G guitars are really good, and I think they're really sort of underrated. I've got two of them. I've got a older LTD model, and I've got a newer Jackson model. They're both right up here. The Jackson is the white one. They're a little bit different for sure. They have different tone and different feel between the Jackson and the LTD model, but they're both really good. And I would say I prefer the playability slightly of the LTD, but I think the Jackson has a better tone to it. But they're both really good, and these are the entry level ones, right? These are like the $500 level ones, so kind of the low end of the signature models. But they're both really solid guitars, and I always love the old, I love the random star shape. I'm a huge Akira Takasaki fan, and guys like that, so they're cool guitars. Okay, guys, let's see here. James Hosak wants to know, what do you think of the blue Voodoo amps by Crate? You guys know, are you guys familiar, excuse me, with the blue Voodoo amps? They're the Crate tube amps, and they've got like, oh shoot, what was that? The blue Voodoo amps, they've got like 6 preamp tubes in them or something like that. Usually 120 watts overall. They have a very distinctive sound. Some would say it's a little bit fuzzy, like they have a very distinctive top end. I think they're cool amps, and they're definitely unique amps. They have their own sound, but I think it's a tone that can be difficult to work with in some situations. But the cool thing is you can find them on the used market for like $300 or something. It's a full-blown tube amp. And they seem to be fairly durable. It seems like they were pretty good quality manufacturing, because the amps tend to last a long time. But they do have a different kind of sound. There's a rehearsal studio close to here that has several of them. So I've played through a few of them. Okay, now there was a really good question on here. Let me look back at this. Okay, Orson wants to know, was there a great lesson or video that was a breakthrough for me while learning? Okay, so there have been a few different ones. The Speed Kills instructional video from Michelangelo Badio was a big thing for me in terms of learning how to build up my alternate picking and just like speed in general, speed and cleanliness. I'm not saying I'm the fastest or the cleanest, but that was something that helped me a lot. Like I was, pretty sloppy before then, and I'm maybe a little bit less sloppy now. So the Speed Kills instructional program from Michelangelo Badio was really big. And also, if you study players like guys who are sort of associated with the sort of classic like blues shred kind of sound, like Michael Schenker or Gary Moore, guys like that, they have a way of combining, like those to me are guys who are really good balance between the old school blues styles and the new like metal shred styles. I think if you study that stuff, it can really add some serious pyrotechnics to your playing, right? So hopefully that that answers your question. Somebody's asking about the Line 6 modeling amps. I want to be totally honest. The most of the Line 6 stuff that I have used is from several years ago. And it was not that good. It was like useful if you wanted to get a quick sound, and you could do a lot of different things with it, but it was always like, well, none of the there's a lot of different sounds and they're relatively easy to use, but there was never like a sound that was like, oh man, that's just amazing. It was like if you wanted a really good tone, you would go with something else. But I think that's all my experiences with the Line 6 stuff is really outdated now. I know they brought out a lot of really cool new stuff, and like some of the amplifiers where it has a tube power amp section, but then the modeling stuff in the preamp section, that stuff is really good. But I need to spend more time with it so I can give you a better answer. Oh, Eric L is asking about the Bugera amps. I'm a pretty big supporter of the Bugera amps in general. I did a review of the G5 Infinium. It was a really cool, small amplifier with a lot of features. Let me say an important point about the Bugera amps. When the Bugera amps first came out, they had a lot of quality control problems. So if you get, okay, they had a lot of quality control problems in the beginning. But when they switched over to the Infinium models, that was like the second generation of the Bugera amps. And they fixed a lot, maybe all, hopefully, of the original problems. So if you're going to buy a Bugera amp, avoid the ones that are pre-Infinium series. But if you, so like the original 1960, the original 1990, there are now Bugera, like Bugera amp, whatever the model is, Infinium. Get that one. Get the Infinium series ones. Because again, that's like the second generation where they went back into the designs and like, okay, we got to fix this, we got to fix that, because these particular things broke really easily. I actually have a Bugera amp that is sort of in the mail to me. I don't know. It's taking a very long time to ship. I think it's probably because of the coronavirus thing. But I did order it, and I'm really excited to get it. And it is a refurbished 1990 Infinium head. And I had an original 1990 head that was not the Infinium model. And it sounded so good. I mean, that amp this tone was amazing. But after 45 minutes, it would overheat and shut off. And like, you couldn't trust it, right? You couldn't take it to a gig because it was like you weren't sure if it was going to make it through. It had a lot of problems with it, but the tone was amazing. But this is the one I'm getting is the Infinium series. Again, that's the second generation, vastly improved quality control. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the Bugera amps. Somebody wants to know what's the most expensive guitar I have. That's probably the Paletti. The Paletti Stratospheric. That's the handmade Italian. It uses chestnut wood from 150-year-old wine barrels. It's like maybe $4,500, something like that. So Desmond wants to know, how's my blues playing going? So one of the other things I was doing at the beginning of the year was I wanted to work more on my blues playing. A lot of people criticized the tone that I was using, and that was a legitimate criticism. So one of the things that I've done, I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can see this here. I got the Fender Blues Junior amp. This is very, very nice tone from this amplifier. So I've been trying to not only work on my chops, like work on my blues technique, but also improve my blues tone. And I think that amp is really helping me do it. All right, guys. So let's do about maybe 5 or 10 more minutes here. Hmm. Oh, somebody's asking about if we're gonna do another Raptor Command album. Raptor Command, as you of course may know, is Raptor Command, the heavy metal tribute to Elon Musk, a band that I'm in. Incredibly great lineup in that band. Really fun project. There's a full length album out. It's been out for a little bit called Elon, and it's like power metal kind of stuff. Um, I don't know if there's going to be a new album, but there will be more songs. But I think it's going to be singles as opposed to an album, probably. But I absolutely do want to do more Raptor Command songs. Really, really fun. If you like power metal, you'll love it. Somebody's asking, what do I think about Blackstar amps? I really like Blackstar amps. I think Blackstar is they did an interesting thing where I think actually their cheaper amps are so good that they're really competing with their more expensive stuff. I've got well, it's sitting over here. It's not you can't see it on the camera, but I've got it's the ID 100 TVP head, True Valve Power Head, the 100-watt version. They also have a 150-watt version. Those are really, really great amps, and they're solid state amps, but they sound so good. One of the unique models of solid state amps that actually sounds better as you turn it up. And they are, you can get them for like 300, 350 bucks on the used market, and they're very, very durable. They've got some built-in effects. You can hook up a foot switch to them. They've got like a line out. They've got MIDI. You can, do MIDI control with them, and really capable amplifier. Highly recommend it. Okay. Ooh, that was an interesting question. So somebody just asked the question, what guitar disappointed me the most? That's a really good question. There have been some kind of like vintage guitars that I played where uh, they were they hadn't been maintained very well. And so I think originally they were probably really good guitars. And then now this is presented to you as like, oh, this amazing classic guitar. And then you play it and it's like, well, this is like pretty bad. There have been a few situations like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything I have here that was really a disappointment. I don't think there's anything I have here because again, the stuff I keep, I try to only keep guitars that I really, really like. Um, some of the older BC Rich guitars were pretty disappointing because they had some cheap stuff that was really pretty poor quality. Um, but I think BC Rich is like owned. There's like new owners or something now, so I think hopefully they'll be coming back strong. It looks like the stuff that they're bringing out now seems to be pretty cool. Okay, here's a great question. Ron Falkoff is asking, what neck profile do I recommend for a beginner with small hands? I don't I don't think it matters. For a beginner, the neck profile is going to be such a tiny difference. You just have to put in a little bit of time and work on the strength and dexterity in your hand. That's it. Okay, because honestly, there are some people who start on a 7 string or an 8 string, a massive neck, and they even with small hands, and they still do it. Now, I'm not making a small hand joke here, but the guitar player Rusty Cooley, amazing progressive shred player. I've met him in person several times. Not a big guy. Has, I would say, smaller than average hands. And he plays like 8 string guitars. And he just shreds. Wide stretches, incredible. So I don't think it really makes that much difference. I think it's just a matter of putting in the time and just working on the dexterity and the strength in your hands. Now, something I want to point out related to that, something that's extremely important. Important. I'm trying to pronounce my T's more. Okay, when it comes to I'm talking about your fretting hand here. If you see people playing like this with the thumb over the neck and the fingers are at like a 45-degree angle to the strings, like this kind of thing, I mean, there are like blues players or like George Lynch, people like that have a particular style that's kind of based around doing that. But in terms of the actual, like what it allows you to do on the guitar, that's a really terrible way to play it, really. There's a few exceptions, certain vibrato styles require that and things like that. But in general, don't do this. You want the fingers to be perpendicular, so making 90-degree angles with the strings. So this kind of thing. So there's space, okay, right in here underneath the neck. The thumb is on the back of the neck, not the top. Thumb is on the back. And then the fingers are like that. That's how you can do all those crazy wide stretches, and you can do much more complicated chords that way. It's going to be a lot easier for you. Very, very important thing. Same thing if you're playing classical, right? Because classical necks are very wide. You want your hand like that. Imagine trying to play it like this. It's really limiting. Okay. Diego asks, do I still have my first electric guitar? I don't. My first electric guitar was kind of given to me by my uncle, Pat. I think I'm remembering this right. And I had it for a long time. It was not a good guitar by any means. It was this really bizarre, like a Mustang knockoff with the individual switches for the pickups. And the intonation was disastrous and everything. I think eventually the guitar was given back to him. So no, I don't have it anymore. I really don't have any guitars from back in the day. I've got one that I had when I was like in my late teens. I've got a Charvel that I had when I was like, I don't know, 18, 19 or something like that. I still have that one. All right, guys. So we're at an hour. I'll do 5 more minutes. We'll do a few more questions, and then we can all get back to sitting around the house, right? Waiting for this thing to be over. Oops. I'm out of tea now, so. None of your business. They're saying that they have been forced to buy many guitars that I have reviewed. I completely understand. You basically had no choice. You were overcome with passion for the guitar. It happens to me all the time. And yes, the tea was good to the last straw. Somebody's asked, somebody's asking if I'm a Queen or Beatles fan. Yeah, absolutely. If I had to choose between them, I would probably choose the Beatles. But why choose, right? Okay, Wayne wants to know, how is the SR amp review, the Stage Right? It was great. I really like that amplifier. In fact, I'm using that amplifier to review a couple of other products. I've got a review of a power attenuator coming up, and I have a review of a overdrive pedal. And I'm using that amp for both of those reviews as well. So you'll be seeing more of that amp for sure. Sebastian, do I like Enforcer? I do like Enforcer. I've got one Enforcer album. Wait. Hold on. I'm confusing Enforcer with Forced Entry. Anyway, they're both great bands. Sayan, what do I think about Made in Mexico Fenders? They are really, really good guitars. I think the manufacturing, the place of manufacturing, like the manufacturing location, it matters less and less and less as time goes on for guitars. You know, I've played, you know, Squires that are made in China and the Mexican made Fenders and the American made Fenders, and I've played guitars from all of those places that were really, really good. Somebody's asking about the Jackson Minion guitars. You know, they're kind of cool. I think if it's like a really, really young player, you can get something like that. I kind of think the junior guitars or like, you know, half size, three-quarter scale guitars. I think that stuff is a little gimmicky, to be honest. I think most beginners, even young kids, they kind of don't really need a small guitar. Um, I think the best thing like a young person can do, or the easiest way to get them started, it just has to do with the type of guitar. Like, I think playing a nylon string guitar or an electric guitar is the best way to start out. I think a steel string acoustic is not a good way to start out because that's going to take the most strength in your hands, and it's going to be the most physically uncomfortable to start with. And I think in the beginning you do want to make it as easy as possible because so many people quit. I think you want to have an easy path forward so people don't get discouraged early on and quit. Because once you've been doing it for a little while and you know a few things, you know some chords, and it's fun to play, then people will usually continue on. But in the very beginning, when you don't know anything and you can't actually play anything, it's really easy to be like, oh, why am I even doing this? And they get discouraged. So yeah, I think nylon string guitars or electric guitars, because there's less tension on the strings, I think that's the best thing to start out with. But I think the small size guitars, I think it's kind of like, I think it's just kind of a little gimmicky. It looks cool in photos. Yeah. All right, guys. Let me do two more questions, and then we'll get out of here. Uh, uh, is it going by too fast? Oh, yes. This is a Navihawk. Thank you for noticing. It's got the flight computer, right? The circular slide rule. 2 beers. Where can they buy my guitars? Well, I don't really have any for sale right now. Occasionally I sell stuff on eBay, but I don't have any guitars for sale right now. Is that what hopefully that's what you mean? Cool. Eastwood guitars? Somebody's asking what do I think of Eastwood guitars? Do you mean Eastman? I'm not familiar with Eastwood. Eastman I like. Those are great. High end, made in China, but very, very high end, very, very nice materials. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Eastwood guitars. Ooh, here's a cool question. Um, it's cool to me. Was there a Japanese band that influenced your guitar playing? There are two bands in particular which have heavily influenced guitar playing. One is Loudness with the Kira Takasaki. I've been a Loudness fan for a long time. I've been fortunate enough to see them live. And also Galnerius, Japanese power metal band. Japanese power metal band, Galnerius. This lead guitar player, Shio. He does some really cool. He does one technique in particular, which I stole from him, where you're tapping two fingers on the same fret, and you can get these kind of lines, and he'll go through like a linear scale up and down one string using that technique, and it sounds amazing, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So I like it because it's easy. All right. Yeah, if you guys are not familiar with either of those bands, Loudness or Galnerius, I definitely encourage you to check them out. Also, Anthem from Japan is another amazing classic metal band from Japan. Really good stuff. Okay, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it up. This was a lot of fun. A ton for the people who thanks a ton for the people who donated there. That's really cool of you guys. I hope I was able to answer enough of your questions. And guys, yeah, this is a really, it's a crazy time, crazy stuff going on right now. Um, I'm really sorry to hear, from the people on here that were talking that have been laid off or furloughed or something. I mean, hopefully this thing will only last another month or maybe 2 months, and we can kind of start getting back into a normal life. It's kind of weird how just having a basic normal life seems like such a luxury now compared to all the stuff that's going on. So, yeah, I will. The stuff I was talking about earlier, got a new instructional program that's going to be coming out in a few weeks, working on some new solo material. All that stuff's going to be coming up a little bit later on. And I've got some cool videos, just normal review videos and stuff that I think you guys will really dig, that I'm working on the editing now. So a lot of stuff coming up. If you don't already know about it, my second channel, Heavy Metal Horizons, Cars, Airplanes, and Heavy Metal. That stuff's a lot of fun for me too. But again, guys, thanks a ton for being part of the live stream. This is always really fun to talk to you guys. And I will see you very soon. I'll see you. I'll have some videos next week for you. All right, guys. See you then. Thanks a lot.